Welcome to Art Talks, the dialogues beyond the cusp. My name is Antonio Roma Torres, and I have my friend and colleague Mile Churlinov as a guest.
Hi, everybody.
Thank you, Mile, for your kind acceptance of the invitation. I also would
My
like
pleasure,
to
man. My pleasure.
I would like to say thank you to Coltin for sponsoring this podcast. It is a great courage from companies to try to understand this new model of podcasting. So we have to cheer Coltin for that.
Thank you, Colteen. We believe in you. That's why we keep close to you.
Yeah. So let's start a little bit about your background. I was doing some investigations because nowadays online we can see everything, and as you as a lecturer, it's easy to get your resume. You started. You are not originally from Bulgaria. You are from
Yeah,
Macedonia.
I was born in Macedonia, and let me tell you this fun story because you know that I practice in Sofia, Bulgaria, but I'm Macedonian born. Similar countries, very similar, like similar culture, similar language. The only difference, one of the differences is that they have the Christmas on 26th and we have Christmas on 7th. So I have to celebrate both. And in between, I'm not able to work because we have a new year. And now I have these long holidays and I just came back from this holiday and I'm a little bit tired.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We think always the holiday will be the time for rest, and we when we end the holidays, it seems that when we are working, it's less stressful than when
Definitely,
we are
man.
in
In the
in
clinic,
holidays.
in the clinic is peace and quiet and nice music. In home, now it's completely different.
So tell me, Mile, you started the first study that you made was you're a dental technician. It was the first
Mhm.
course that you took. and
Yep,
and and can you explain me how a dental technician become an endodontist? Because normally when you see dental technicians they end in prosthodontics because they have a huge advantage, and it's not the case, or it's not so obvious
yeah.
in terms of endodontics. Could you share with us a
Of
little
course,
bit?
man, of course. In Macedonia, we have these vocational schools, which are something like high schools, but you can choose from like different specialties. You can start pharmacy, you can go to dental technician, you can go to different stuff, which can be separated, like 2 years high school and dental technician stuff, while the other 2 years, so 4 years in total, the focus is depending on you. If you're good in math or you want to keep close to math, you have more math and less dental technician stuff. But I wanted to go even further after becoming dental technician and continue with dentistry. So instead going to high school, I decided to start my career as a dental professional at 14 years of age. I was very young, very green, we call, like very immature, not familiar what I'm getting into. And those 4 years were key for me to understand like how the teeth looks, where we are molding them, we are doing different stuff, but not working on real patients actually. So
Yeah.
I graduated as a dental technician and then I started the dentistry, which was in Bulgaria. And I used these dental technician skills, and that was how I earned some of my money while being student, because I was working as a dental technician while I was studying dentistry. I was uh, doing dentures for my colleague. I was doing wax stuff. I was doing I would finish my classes and go to the dental lab to earn my money. So the next day would be the same. And that was my dental technician stuff. And after on my fifth grade, when we were digging more and more into dentistry, I decided that this endodontics actually it's the part where I get the best of me, even though I don't need to put so much effort comparing to other stuff. Even though I was dental technician, prosthodontics seemed to me much harder, and I was not enjoying as much as endodontics. And then there was the point where I decided to shift, and for that time, prosthodontics was not big part. I mean, I still kept doing overlays, inlays, crowns, but they were, I started this endoresthodontics forum, which has over
Yeah,
5,000
yeah.
or something followers, which was symbiosis between endodontics and prosthodontics. And then I had this pet for 10 years, and then I decided to go back to dental technician stuff with this digital technology. And now I would do endo, I would do digital planning, and then I would do the prosto as well.
Okay, it's very funny because we take our careers. Sometimes we are trying to converge into a specialty, even if it's not formally a specialty in some countries, but narrowing our skills. And sometimes we are trying to get a little bit more larger. I think it's important in terms of endodontics. It's very closely to restorative, because you need to understand prosthodontics, you need to understand perio. So I think that in endodontics, to be a good endodontist, you must understand a little bit of the other areas. But maybe that's the case also for another specialty. To be a good prosthodontics, you must understand a little bit of perio, a little bit of endodontics. So it's important not to be so narrow. So now with digital technology, you find the motivation to get back to your ancient skill,
Yeah,
and to
yeah.
do a reboot.
It takes a lot of time because sometimes you have to stay after hours in your clinic working on, like, you did some scans, and then I want to play with this stuff, but then my wife calls me like, "Hey, are you coming? Like, we are waiting with your daughter at home." And then I just run from my clinic. Come, 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 Jasmine, come, come. Let me introduce my daughter. Come, say hi. Ah, hi.
Hello.
the okay, Pavlina, Shazam. So I have to go from the clinic to see my family, and then this is the time where I do my sports. I either run like 7 kilometers to my clinic, to my home, or ride a bicycle. But this is some other topic
Yeah,
we
yeah,
discuss with you, like how
yeah.
to balance work life and sports. This is my recipe. What I do, I'm trying to convert traveling to from my home to work while doing sports. It could be either running, it can be bicycle, and sometimes if I have a little bit more time, I do swimming in between, like run to the pool, swim, and then run to the work, or ride a bicycle 30 kilometers, swim, and then ride bicycle
Okay.
to the clinic. You only have
Never,
to have a shower. That's it.
never swim to the clinic. You
not,
don't
not, not
work in
yet.
a.
If I was living in Portugal, I
Yeah,
will
yeah,
definitely try to do that.
yeah, yeah. I imagine. So just to understand a little bit the young Mile ending. So you ended your graduation in dentistry. Then you worked as a general practitioner, and you when do you remember a time that you made the switch? When was the click moment that you decided to be an endodontist? Did Or it was a gradual thing? Because I think it's important sometimes. we get young people listening to these kind of podcasts, and they are maybe running to the clinic or to the faculty, and sometimes they could be a little bit lost in terms of career
Hmm.
because there's a lot of uncertainty, and it's important to see role models as yourself, understand a little bit how the steps,
Yes,
what how did the steps to becoming an endodontist.
I started working as a general practitioner because it was easier to find a job. Even though I wanted to be as to start working endo, but like you go and ask job for endodontist, but you have a zero experience, and then it's very difficult to find a proper job. No matter how interested you are in the field, if you have a zero experience, chances you get into endodontics straight from the uni is close to zero. To be honest, you can either go helping some endodontists while you're a student, and then if they are willing to teach you, and after you graduate, slowly, easy cases first, initial cases, and then retreatment gradually, it is possible. But for me it was not possible, so I decided to start as general practitioner. I worked 2 years as general practitioner, but I was mixing them. I worked in two clinics. One was only endo, only endo, and the other was everything. So only endo was my hobby, and I was happy even if I do just one case a day or one case a week sometimes. But that was my hobby. The other part, the general practitioner part, was paying my expenses. So you have to have your hobby going, and but you have to have your expenses covered. Otherwise, it's not possible. So by the time when I was feeling that I could be ready for another step, which was limited to endo, then I had to quit those two clinics and find a new job, which was limited to endo with a microscope and with all the equipments I needed. So I found that clinic. It was a matter of time, and once you see this opportunity, go there, grab it, tell them that you're the one for this process, for this position, because you always wanted to do this.
Yeah, now with social media, it's I would say, I don't know if we can say that it is easier, but it is one way that you can get noticed in your community. At least in Portugal, the social media has a big impact. So for a young dentist, sometimes social media could be a great presentation cards or business cards to virtually send to a lot of people. When you were young, that was not the case.
But
uh,
do you remember, as you and me, we are pretty much same age? Do you
yeah,
remember back then? Because I remember you posting cases some 10 years ago. Social media was still big, but there were not that many. Now, if you open Instagram, thousands of people are sharing
yeah,
cases, and it's very hard to distinguish yourself. Like, okay, I'm different. How could be different
yeah.
these days? It's very difficult.
And you see that now people feel this pressure, and it's like, no, I'm the tiny access guy, no, I'm the guy that does. So everyone is trying to be something, to be a little bit special and different. When I started, and even when I was a student, I was completely addicted to the roots mailing lists, and I was seeing everyone there posting cases, and I learned a lot from there. I saw a lot of things, even the some emails that Kenneth Serrota writes in a very strange way in terms of English,
Hmm.
and I was trying to understand what he was saying. And then even Antonis Caniotis posted cases, Sergio Nicola. There was a lot of things going on, people discussing microscopes and brands and adapters, and I didn't understand anything. But it was like, okay, if I see slowly, the information is going to get in my brain. And Terry Pancook, for me it was
Yeah, I
very
remember.
important to see the MB2. And I was like trying to understand where was the MB2, and it was very very significant for my life. The roots mailing list, and of course seeing Gus and Yared starting to talk about reciprocation, and people messing with the ATR Technica, Božinar Kavlov, and other dentists, Sergio Nicola, trying with the motor and giving the feedback. And for me, it was very important the thing about reciprocation, and I've been using reciprocation since then. Now I'm approaching 40 year olds, so I'm trying to do some rotation also. And I'm very happy with these new motors, as you see, like the Canal Pro Genie, that has like a real time algorithm to try to find the best angles to be more efficient in instrumentation. Now with the Canal Pro X Move, I also like the ATR motion, that you can do rotation, and then when you get to a torque, you can start reciprocation. So it's like a hybrid motion. And I've been using since then. In terms of instruments, everybody always like to know what are the preferences of our guests. And what would you say that is your most used files? Because I imagine that you can use a lot of files, and you've been using a lot of files. But would you see it's your like top three
Yeah,
files? Yeah, yeah.
I was I started practicing endo in the profile era, which was like huge, and then K3, and then you have these like 100 files for everything, which I liked it.
Sorry to interrupt, Mile.
Mhm.
I started also with K3 from Cybernando, and for me, I would say that Profile and K3 were the best systems to start to understand endodontic files. Because as you were saying, there's a lot of files and a lot of combinations that you can choose. And the fact that being with fixed taper, and in that time you had to understand, like, if you use a 2504, you cannot use a 2506. You'll be dead if you use it. But sorry to interrupt,
No, no,
please
don't
continue.
worry.
Yeah, yeah.
Austenat files are still great. Like we use them for retreatments. I like Austenat files. There's nothing wrong with them, but they have their indications. So I would use Austenat files as initial like shapers. I prefer, if I do some, because we have a lot of Russian red here, and the first few millimeters are very difficult to negotiate, and then it's easy case. So sometimes I use this retreatments D1 file, or use HyFlex remover. In terms of movements, I prefer, as you said, hybrid technique. I prefer to use both. And for instance, I like using rotational. I like to rotate whenever I can, and I would like to reciprocate wherever I cannot rotate. So if I want to be fast, rotation, bam bam. But if I'm negotiating MB2, even if I'm using file which is meant to be used by rotation, I turn to into reciprocation, because I know that I would increase the fracture resistance, and I feel much safer. In terms of files I use these days, number one, HyFlex one file would be my golden file. I don't start my endo if I don't see this file on the table. Then I like this by VDW Air Pilot. It's a
Yeah.
0412. It's a file I really, really like. And then for retreatments, I say Hyflex Remover and ProTaper D1. Those four files would be my most used files. And then it's 0520 and 0315 by Hyflex EDM.
Yeah. Yeah. Now it's great. Nowadays you have plenty to choose. I was hearing you and I was thinking, what are my favorite files? I don't know. There's so many, and I like to mess with one or another. I'm not a huge fan of the R pilots. It seems very fragile to me. I prefer like a Pro Glider style, like a
Mhm,
1604. Maybe I have a heavy hand, and for me it's a lot of I didn't like the path files back in the day,
mhm,
because there was a very thin and very fragile. I seem to prefer, um, for instance, I like the 2004 from One Resi.
mhm,
I think it's a instrument that I can push a little bit more, and it's been surprising me. For me, it was a surprise for me to like the 1503 from iFlex,
mhm.
because at the beginning it seemed very fragile to me, but I liked it, and I never liked the 1005 from iFlex. For me, it's like a file.
You know
I
what?
avoid using it.
It's a file which is very, very nice as long as we have patency of 15. That's what I realized. Back in the
Yeah,
days, if I would go with 10 of 05 initially was a problem. But if I have patency with number 10 and I go with 1503, then 1005 is a perfect file to go after
yeah,
1503. But it was the other way around because initially, after when it was introduced, I would go 1005, 1503, which was a problem. But if I go 1503 shorter and then I go 1005, it's much easier, but I don't use it that much. I
yeah.
have it.
Sorry,
No,
Miller.
no, yeah, I have it, but I don't use it that much.
Yeah,
Sometimes I use it if I want to be fast, but it's a fragile file, and maybe maybe I would try to skip it in most of
yeah.
my cases.
When I saw the new sequence from Coltin the OGSF, I was like happy to not see the 1005, and the 1503 survived, and the
And
1005 didn't survive, and I was like, yeah, it's just like I feel I'm feeling it, so I was very happy. But the one file disappeared also, and now you have 18 file, and then you switch for a 30 file. Let's see.
but there was
uh,
something called Team Mist, at least the EDM system. It was huge step to go from 1503 until 2005.
yeah, yeah, I like a lot the 2005. This is one of my favorite files in terms of iFlex EDM, and now the file get a little bit smaller. Uh, let's see, how it is, and I like the idea of finishing with a 30 and skipping the 25. It was
Mm-hmm.
a very courageous decision. I don't know who designed the system in Coltin, but it was courageous to skipping the 25, because I don't know, but I would say that 99% of the file systems end in a 25 in terms of the package,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of the standard procedure, and maybe it's a trend. And how are you seeing these new trends of minimally invasive, people finishing like in the 2004 or even 15? O3. I see sometimes in social media very thin uh, preparations. Um, how what is your opinion, or what is your
I,
trend or your
I, I
preference?
I prefer to finish up until 30, but as a last file, I would use hand file night tie. I would stop until 25 rotary, and then the last file would be night tie hand file. I am doing this because I would like to feel by hand the last few millimeters how I have shaped them. Because sometimes, even though I finish with 25, the 30, I have to put a lot of effort to go up to working length, and then I have to go back to sometimes 25, also night hand file, and then go with 30. But the new high flex system, jumping straight to 30, is something we have to appreciate, because it might save us some time in the future. Instead going with a hand file, I
Yeah,
could go straight to the 30 file. But for now, I'm still doing the last step with 3002 to fill the few millimeters. I'm not a fan of minimally invasive. I try to stay to 20 size only when there is a huge chance to ruin everything if I introduce
yeah,
a bigger file, like double S or very
yeah,
curved, long curve, like big radius canal, 25 millimeters. Then I might risk and stay up until 20. Never left any canal up until 15. But if somebody have a good results in initial cases, because I don't think it makes a lot of sense in retreatments,
yeah,
but if you have a good result in initial cases with that, okay, go ahead. But I'm not huge fan being that conservative. Not huge fan in ninja
yeah,
accesses, because I think we overpassed that. If we were back into Facebook and Facebook time, it was a popular, it was a big time. I remember one case I posted, which is completely no sense these days. It was no sense even back then, but I was so blinded by my belief in this conservative endodontist that I did ultra conservative access through composite restoration. Okay, 5 canal molars, very difficult anatomy. I did ultra conservative access just to post this case on internet. It was a big struggle. It turned successful, but it was completely nonsense.
yeah,
Why would you go and risk your day? Because if you don't have a straight access, the chances you break a file are higher. If you don't manage the anatomy correctly, then you might be into this unsafe field and not feel comfortable, because I want to enjoy endodontics. I don't want to feel like, what if something breaks here? No, I want to enjoy it. I don't want
yeah.
to feel under
I
pressure.
I think the files are getting better, because when you use like Profile, it was impossible to, or even with ProTaper Universal, before the gold age, the traditional ProTaper Universal, it was impossible to use F2 and to put it in the working length if the access was not very open. And nowadays that the files are getting better and better, it seems that we try always to know what is the limit, and try to make the access thinner and thinner. And sometimes, but I think it has to do with being young. So, you want to push the limit, and you want to try to prove yourself that you are a very good dentist. And when the ego, it's your priority, and it's not the patient, um, it's bad, but I think it's a process that everybody passes. So I think it's important not to judge, because
Yeah, no, no, we don't judge because we went through that. So it doesn't make sense to judge something which we were once. And
yeah, yeah,
and the other thing is like, who is trying to introduce this ultra conservative endodontics? Okay, there are two types of people: very skillful and very experienced, like academy, for instance.
yeah, yeah,
And then on the other hand, as endodontist, how many cases you receive from your referrals which are completely innocent, like
yeah, yeah, with no
you're the
decay.
one, like
Yeah, 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 yeah.
okay, I do initial cases once a month, like pulpitis case, once a month. All of my cases are 5 times already somebody have tried to retreat the case or had 10 root canal treatments, and then this ultra conservative endodontics doesn't work. So you have to be either somebody who sees those and start treating them, usually general practitioners, but they don't feel comfortable doing this ultra conservative,
Yeah.
ultra modern endo. So you have to be there from that group which trying to do everything conservative, and they're waiting. I believe that they're not seeing initial cases every day for sure, because they're very skillful and the colleagues send them those cases. So once they have this initial innocent case, okay, I will try to do ultra conservative as much as possible, but does it make sense? I don't think so.
Yeah, it's difficult, and you could argue that if a case, if the crown is not very damaged, maybe you could do like a vital therapy treatment, because if it's a tiny decay, or if it's a decay that is very that it's not huge, maybe you could do some, try to maintain vitality of the tooth, because it's in my experience also, when you see even a primary case, you see like that you had like several restorative procedures, and some based of calcium hydroxide inside the restorative treatment, and the tooth, it's very altered, so it's difficult to be minimally invasive and just get to the roots without doing any damage.
Vital
So
pulp therapy is amazing option. I wouldn't say alternative, because these days vital pulp therapy is so big that it's not alternative anymore. I would support this. You know that I started doing vital pulp therapies many years ago. Started in 2014, so I have a lot of cases, a lot of follow ups. But it's a big topic. I'm not sure if you want to enter into this or
we
you want to move to other
we can we
questions.
can we can enter this. I would say, for me, the problem with vital therapy is the world is not prepared. As to say, the patient does not understand the treatment. I have very a lot of difficulties to explain to the dentist and to the patient what is going on with the treatment and the risks. So I do sometimes. I could do more vital therapy, uh, but I struggle with the communication problems with the dentist and the patient. Sometimes it's difficult to understand, and even the risks of having pain. People tend to say to me, Antonio, no, you can do a very good root canal treatment, so try not to complicate this time, and let's kill the tooth and do a big crown, and let's solve this. at once. I don't know what is your experience in terms of patient acceptance and
Yeah,
dentists.
when I was working in big clinic, okay, when the communication with the referrals is very easy because you are under one roof, you call them all together and tell them, okay, guys, bam, 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 in few sentences. If you see this, you see these symptoms, okay, this is vital pulp therapy case. It was easy to have a lot of cases for that. And I was happy that I gained this experience with vital pulp therapy back then. I tended to keep to one protocol and I was using one material. So because I didn't want to have I didn't want to be biased by the materials. So there was, I remember, two patients, two patients, successful vital pulp therapy on premolar for 8 years. And then 8 years later, 7 years later, she came and I performed a second vital pulp therapy on another tooth. And then 2 years later, she had so much pain on that side, but I was not in Bulgaria. And then I said, okay, this guy, go visit this guy. I explained the case. I sent all the documentation, and she write me, this guy checked the tooth, pulp sensibility testing is positive. And at the same time, the doctor texts me. I said, okay, cold test is positive, percussion is negative. I cannot realize which one is causing a problem. No periapical radiolucency on the periapical picture. And then the same case I had on another patient, one successful vital pulp therapy 7, 8, 10 years ago, and then the other one unsuccessful. Same protocol, same patient, same symptoms. The problem was that I had to do a CBCT, even though it's not included in the guidelines that we have to do CBCT after vital pulp therapy. And then I was able to see this tiny periapical radiolucency on the one root. So when I open it, one root completely vital pulp, the other root necrotic. And then the pulp sensibility testing was false negative because of the vital pulp in the one root. And then I had to explain the patient like everything that we are discussing now, but it was so difficult. And she said, please never, ever do vital pulp therapy to me. I suffered a lot.
Yeah.
I saw few doctors. They were not sure which one, which tooth they have to treat. She had to wait for a few more days until the symptoms got worse and she started having a percussion pain, and then it was obvious which one was to blame. But as you said, it's a very challenging part of dentistry. I don't think we know exactly inclusion and exclusion criteria,
Yeah.
especially for permanent teeth. So I think it's about time to go deeper and deeper scientifically, and then implementing everything more.
Yeah, it's very complicated, and even in endodontics we struggle about with diagnostics because it's difficult to understand what's happening inside the tooth, and you just have like the CBCT, percussion, cold test, and and palpation. Don't have a lot of information. Sometimes you lack a little bit more information, and in the vital pulp therapy cases it's complicated to understand the outcome of your treatments, so it's an issue, but for certain that it will be the future and we'll have more and more. And I hope, as you, Mili, that the scientists and the industry give us more tools to decide better and to treat better the cases, and not being so invasive. I'd like to ask you if you could share like a tiny trick or a tiny tip in terms of endodontics, one thing that you discovered, like that you struggle for sometimes, and then it was a click for you, or something that you remember. For instance, for me, one thing that once someone told me, I recorded in my brain forever, and even today I remember. And I ask when I have like students seeing the appointments, or a young dentist seeing it, what is the direction of the palatal canal, the last millimeters in the upper molar.
Hmm.
And for me it was the first time someone told me like it's always buckle. For me it was like,
Hmm.
uh, this is amazing. And I always remember, even now, when I use my file, I remember like, okay, it's buckle in the palatal molar. What can you
Eh,
share of a simple trick that will help?
maybe maybe I would say the one you already shared, MB2, always facing towards each other. The safest zone to work should be in between, and people sometimes struggle to manage the last millimeters. But the other thing would be, I started doing reciprocation, okay, when wave one was introduced, and I missed the reciproc moment. And then when wave one was introduced, I tried, I didn't like, and I was not very optimistic about reciprocation. I went back to rotation. And then during my master, I met some people who were so much into reciprocation that I said to myself, okay, if this guy is so much into reciprocation and this guy as well,
I'm missing something.
and they're not somebody who is promoting me anything, because they are friends of mine, they're professors, and they were not working for VDW or some other brand. I said, okay, I will give it a try again. And then I realized that negotiating MB2 with reciprocation was much, much, much easier than with rotation. Much easier and much safer. For me, that saved me a lot of time, because you know that I do endodontics. 95 of my cases are finished as a single session. And I do shitty retreatments, okay? I don't do easy cases, and I'm trying to finish them as a single session. I give them 2 hours. I'm usually late. I'm late 15 minutes. So after I see the patient, I start with the build-up. That would be my second suggestion. Try to do the build-up as good as possible. Try to do the build-up as if the patient will never go back to your referral, because sometimes patients, that's what they do. They come to you, you finish the treatment, they're free of pain, and they forget about the 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 tooth. They classify the teeth as having pain, not having pain. If I don't have a pain,
Yeah,
I don't have
it's
a
good.
problem. Yeah, even if they had a pain, and it's and they got rid of the pain somehow, they think that, okay, now it's better, I don't feel pain, I don't need to go to dentist. So why I'm saying, maybe this would be my number one. Okay, very, very often we get symptoms from the soft tissue. Maybe half of the referred cases are shitty endo and soft tissue problem, because the restoration was not done properly, and they have pain with the gum. They go to the general dentist. General dentist sees this previous root canal treatment and say, okay, this is difficult for me, I would refer the patient to you. And they come to you, you see the case, but you don't see periapical radiolucency, and you know where the pain comes from. So if you don't pay attention to that, and you do a shitty restoration, shitty preendo, and you have a gap between those two teeth, the pain will not go away, because foot impactation will continue. And even if you do the perfect root canal treatment, but the patient is still having a pain, they will be so disappointed of you that they say, I pay so much money, I lost a lot of time, and I'm still in pain.
Yeah,
Why?
that's so true. Yeah.
Why? Because you did not close all portal of entry for the bacteria. So that's why I always start with that. I want to make sure that I did the restoration perfectly fine, nice contact so they can floss easily, and then I'm jumping into endo. Because if I do a good resto and I'm out of time for the endo, but I see that the symptoms are coming from the soft tissue, I stop, the patient goes away, they call me on the next, thank you what you did, I'm not feeling any pain, when I should schedule my second appointment for the root canal treatment. If I do vice versa the other way, I do the endo but I don't do the resto, and they are still in pain, I told you that they're not satisfied.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's so true. It's a great tip, because a lot of times the as you said, and it comes to my mind a thousand of cases that people are hurting in the gum and not in the root end of the canals, and the root canal treatment, it's not that pretty in the x-ray, and my colleague right away, no, this is for treatment, that's why it's pain. Even when patient says, no, I had pain in the middle of the night. Oh,
Uh-huh.
this is a root canal treatment for
Yeah.
sure. And you see
Let me,
like a
yeah,
red gum.
let me tell you a personal story. We were on summer vacation on the seaside, and I was doing these ultra marathons. I did 100 kilometers running on the mountains. I was doing this regularly, cycling a lot, and the immune system was going down to me regularly, like because of this intensive training. And I reached this moment when I had this pocket, like for 10 millimeters. This it was so acute that was imitating a palpatis pain like as hell, man. It was so strong, and I said, "Okay, I'm not taking any pills. I want to see how my patients feeling, like the ones they don't have a palpitis and they come to me, and I said, oh, you're good, like, oh, don't worry, oh, you're good. I wanted to see how bad can be this gum pain, and I assure you, I telling you, the whole night was so bad that 2 hours later I had to get up, take two painkillers so this pain stops. And on the next day, my wife, she's also dentist, I said, okay, do please treat the pocket. She started treating the pocket. On the next day, I was completely fine, completely different person. With endo, is not, it's not as fast. If they come with abscess, you do a root canal treatment, the pain goes away in a few days. But with a perio, it's so instant that on the next day you're a brand new person. And ever since I see somebody coming with pain, if I see a pocket, I remember this night that this could be as strong as palpitis. So
You
treat
relate.
that.
Yeah, yeah, you relate. It's not the same thing. You talked about ultra marathons and everything, and I'm very curious to know if you've been doing sports all of your life. If it's a recent decision. How do you try to find the time to do such difficult things and working? What is your a typical day for you?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, tell me.
when I was not married, I would work up until, okay, first of all, to motivate myself, I will choose some midterm, how to say, it's not,
Competition?
yes, thank you. I would choose some in 6 months or in 9 months, a competition somewhere in the, it could be in Bulgaria, and usually it is something difficult. For instance, 100 kilometers mountain running in the mountains. And they, once I sign up, then I know that I have to train. So if I don't, when I was not married, if I finish up until 8 o'clock, I would go and run up until 10 o'clock after work. Then getting up early in the morning, but then I had a lot of free time. It was not a problem. But when after I got married, it's difficult because you have to have a healthy balance,
Yeah,
as
yeah.
you said. Then it's not as easy. So I'm saying, okay, my schedule is this, these 3 days a week I have to do at least 2 hour sports, and on Sunday morning I have to do either long run. It could be 30 kilometers run, or if I'm doing my if I'm doing cycling, it should be at least 100 kilometers, but still from 3 to 4 hours in the morning. And I'm telling that if I'm not doing that, I'm not myself. So if I'm not myself, you might not like me.
Yeah, yeah. Even I bet that sometimes your wife says, "Mile, go run because you are insupportable. So go
Yeah, that
run 30
happens.
kilometers."
And be
Yeah, yeah.
yourself, because now you're not yourself.
Yeah, yeah, I understand. My experience, it's not the same because I started, I smoked, I quit smoking like 2 years ago, more or less,
Congrats.
and yeah, yeah, thank you. And I start walking. I never did sports. I always hated sports all my life, and now I started to run, and I do some mini runs, not
Do
even
you enjoy it?
half. Yeah, now I enjoy and I miss. If I That's why I can relate a little bit with that. But what I call a long run, it's 10 kilometers, so it's a different scale. But
Yeah.
I understand if I'm going like 1 week without running, I miss, or even 4 days, I miss a little bit, and I feel more calm and more chilled when I do the running. And I understand also I started to struggle to do like 2 kilometers. For me, it was very hard, and then three, and then five, and now I'm comfortable doing 10. So I imagine that the it's improving, but I don't know if I ever will do 100 kilometers.
But it is.
Ultra marathon is a little bit
Yeah,
insanity.
it's a matter of, like motivation, because I remember my first ultra marathon. They start during the night, so you go. It starts on midnight, and then you're running the whole night. I was having, like, no matter how trained you are, the first 50 kilometers are okay, you know, and then the second part is a struggle, pure struggle, called surf. It's a so struggle that you go through different emotional stages that you never ever experienced before. Like, you're so dead that you want to stop, but then you say, okay, am I a quitter? Like, do I quit stuff in life? No, you pull yourself together and move on. And then you realize that the life is so similar to these ultra competitions, that after you finish, the satisfaction that you did not quit, even though you were completely because one ultra marathon was raining the whole night. It was so cold, and then after 60 kilometers, you are so tired that I said, "Why I'm doing this?" Like, and then you're so ready to quit, but then you say, okay, I will move like 5 kilometers and then decide if I want to quit or not. And then you understand that everything in life is in small portions. Like, you don't need to jump to difficult retreatments. You don't need to go and start with 100 kilometers. Even if you do that, if you're exhausted on 60 kilometers, the rest 40 is just a number. You don't think of them as 40, you think of them as 20 portions of 2 kilometers. So you finish 2 kilometers, then you decide if you want to do another two or quit.
And
Uh,
let me just
yeah.
ask you if that kind of sport attitude, if you think it helps you, or how can you relate this with the endodontic treatment, because sometimes we struggle a lot and we are very it's different because you are very quiet physically, you are not struggling in the rain, and but mentally sometimes you have a tough challenge and you are not progressing and it's stressful. Do you think it helps you being a better endodontist to go in this kind of
Of course,
challenge?
man, definitely. If you're optimistic that you can negotiate the competition, even though nothing is with you, like you have zero energy, the conditions are very bad, but if you find motivation to continue, it's the same in endodontics. Like it's a difficult case, and then you completely ruined. Like there is a broken file around the curve. You try to manage, you try to bypass, and then you broke another one, and then it's the same as being on the 60 kilometers out of 100. Then you have to find motivation. Even if you cannot, you have to tell to yourself that okay, this is normal. Everybody is tired. Everybody has been on the rain for 5 or 10 hours. Everybody had this very difficult case. Everybody broke a file. Everybody had extraction. Try to be nice but to yourself, but try to keep the motivation and find a good spirit. Same in endo, same in sports. It's not something like we found the warm water, we call it here.
Yeah, but it's difficult. I find that the dentists suffered a lot because we work very isolated. Even if you work in a clinic, it's your job, it's your restorative treatment, it's your endodontic. It's not the guy on the other dental chair. And I see that dentists struggle a lot with this kind of issues. What the others will think about me, what the patient will tell about me, and we as you know, we have a lot of psychological problems, dentists, a lot of burnout, and we struggle a lot to get along. And maybe the sports, it's one thing that could improve our mental health. And you see that a lot of dentists are into sports, and I think it's a good weapon to try to keep a balance in your life. But
Yeah,
sometimes
man.
it's difficult because sometimes you have to work a lot because you made big investments in a clinic, or you grew up very quick, and now you have to earn the money to pay the bills. And then in the other side you have a family, and you have to be a good father and a good husband, and an athlete and a dentist. And it's difficult to balance all
but
these
but
challenges.
as you said, it's especially endodontics is, it could be very stressful field of dentistry. My tip would be try to go to work twice a week with a metro or with a bus or walking. Put a backpack, put your running shoes and your running equipment. And believe me, once you have a very difficult day at work, try to run from your clinic to your work on stressful day. You'll go home a different person. I experienced this thousands of times. Like I finish my working day and I feel so bad because not everything went as I wanted. I did some mistakes. I had some terrible patients which were like pain in the ass to have them for a minute on your chair, but you have to have them for 2 hours. Or you did not feel physically good, but then after running for half an hour You feel completely different person.
Yeah, it's a good challenge for me to try to run, getting out of the clinic and try to run to home. And I would like to ask if you have, so nowadays you have a lot of fitness trackers and health monitors, the rings and the watches. Do you use some kind of these gadgets to monitor like your sleep and your heart rate variability?
All the time, man. I'm so attached and connected to those stuff that your pleasure time, you feel it guilty. Like for instance, you follow your heart rate and you follow your resting heart rate, which is heart rate during sleep. So you have to, first of all, you have to learn how to sleep with your watch if you want to get get the best of it. So once you get your resting heart rate or recovery heart rate, then if you go out and have some nice dinner, few glasses of wine, or even sometimes more, if you go home, your resting heart rate is high, and on the next day you don't feel very well recovered because you did some sports and then you did not have a good sleep. You did not sleep good, and then if you go out, you better take off your watch or try to keep yourself to one, maximum two glasses of wine, and don't eat very late because your heart rate monitor will tell you that you're not doing it right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's another balance that you have to achieve between the perfection of treating your body and have a social connection with others, and not being
Very
very.
difficult.
Yeah, a lot of people also struggle a lot with sleep monitors because they get stressed because they are not sleeping what they wanted to sleep, and sometimes it's a worse than not using anything. But for sure, that I think it's important to understand a little bit your body, and we never, at least me personally, I never spend time. Studying or understanding how my body works in terms of performance, in terms of sleeping, resting, and all those things. And now it's one of my passions to hear podcasts about health styles, and styles of life, and it's a world that it never ends, and you can be obsessive with the food and the resting and the lights, and it's important to try to stop at some point.
Recovery is a mandatory. Like it's weird how much sleep is underlooked. Like
Yeah.
we are not paying any attention to our sleeping, even though we are in a stressful environment that affects our sleep so much. Like if I have a long working day and if I was stressed during my work, my sleep is affected so much. If I overtrain, my sleep is affected. If I went out, is affected. And then if it's getting like continuously affected, then I got sick. So even though if we realize it's bad, we have to work on it. Same with dentistry. If you see some tiny stuff that you're not doing it right, work on it. Okay, work on it. Read, go have a classes with somebody. If you're
Yeah.
bad in accesses, train. If you're bad in something else, go find somebody and work on it. That's it. We have to work.
Yes, and sometimes when you spend time with colleagues, even during a 1 day course or 2 day course, those little courses that I'm very used to do, and you might also, sometimes connecting with colleagues and sharing the struggles and one or two tips, even in the coffee break or something, it helps a lot the daily routine of dentists. And I think it's, for me, it's very good to spend time with colleagues also in Congress, where I met you, for instance. And it's for me, during those dinners, when we chat, when we ask a question, that's why the learning is the best. And just to finish up talking about learning, you made also a big challenge for your life, besides the physically challenged marathons. But you, as being a very good endodontist, you decided to get to a post graduation in endodontics very recently.
Yeah,
Can you share
12,
with us?
12 years later, having post graduation program was always in my agenda, but I was struggling either to find a time or to find fun, because it's not cheap and it takes a lot of time. So I was either being busy working too much and I did not have time, or the best time would be after you graduate, but then you need to have somebody to pay for you, because I did not have. I wanted to make some money and then start the program. But once you enter this machinery, as you said, like, you have more incomes, you have more expenses, you have, because you're changing your quality of life, and then what you lose is your free time. And you lose your free time for sports, you lose free time for studying. And I said, okay, I have to change my life. So I quit this big clinic, and then we opened our own practice with my wife. And then I decided to work less and spend more time on sports and more time studying. One of these was something I always wanted to do. It was a master in endo. And I said, now is the time. And I got enrolled into the program in Barcelona. One of the reasons was that, in terms of personal reasons. In terms of professional reasons, I started doing some nice endo, but I always felt that I had some voids that I wasn't able to fill them, because when you are self trained, you always have some voids. It could be either instrumentation, vital pulse therapy, or even surgeries, because it's all connected. And once you go through the program, it is systematically arranged so they either fill your voids or telling you where your voids are. And once you are getting more conscious where your weaker side is, then you put the accent on it, so you spend more time studying and try to improve yourself, because there was no a single second, and my professors and my colleagues can confirm this, there was not a single second where I was losing my time at the university. I was trying to be very strict, studying all the papers they were telling us to do, because you don't want to go there just for the degree, because it
Yeah, of course, because you had already the results of the degree in terms of professional success, so you went just for the knowledge. And I totally agree with you. When we study what we like, we choose only the topics
that we
that
like.
are easy for us, or we like, or it's more easy to get the information. And in a post graduation, you start from A to Z, and you do all the letters that you, and even the things that you like and you think you get a different point of view, being to the post graduation program. And you did an excellent post graduation program. I have a lot of friends that are teaching in Barcelona, and we have a lot of Portuguese colleagues that go to Barcelona to do this program. And it's great to be around tutors and people that are used to be in the center of the knowledge and to share this knowledge. And I think it's huge. But for you, congratulations, because it's
Thanks.
needed to be courageous to do a step like this, and to go. It's not go back to the university, and to be humble, to go study, and not using this time and money to do vacations or to buy a car or to do anything
The
else.
ego is our biggest enemy, I would say, especially for self-trained specialists. And once we decide to swallow the ego, it's very easy to see the light in spaces we were not able to see it before. And now I'm missing the program so much because to be around, as you said, to be around those people who are inside inside their scientific world, and have regular conversations with them, makes you think about endo most much more than you were thinking before. And I will definitely recommend everybody to go through any program if possible.
Yeah, and I think we should be courageous. And you talk several times that you took the risk of opening a clinic, you took the risk for going to Barcelona, you took the risk to do 1,000 kilometers ultra mega marathon. So it's important because we tend to be afraid of making these kind of risks, and then we complain a lot and we get very frustrated. And at least you try, even if you fail, you at least try, and you can go in another direction and find your path to
Comfort
happiness.
comfort zone is the worst thing that everything that can happen to anybody. Being in comfort zone is like, for me, it's alarm. Once I feel comfortable, it's something's wrong. Like, if everything is so settled up, like, this is not good. Like,
Yeah, not healthy.
yeah, you're not improving or developing, neither as professional or personally, if you're so much in comfort that you don't want to change anything.
And
Once you're into this zone, think about yourself.
what is your next challenge, Mile? Can you share with us
I, I,
what
I,
is
I,
your next
I've
step?
always wanted to do a PhD, but I've I haven't had courage or neither a knowledge to start a PhD program. Now I will try to start doing that part. I, I'm not saying that I've started anything. This is my dream. I want to do, and let's see how it goes. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah,
If
for
if we,
sure.
if we talk 2 years from now, and I haven't still started anything, it means that I'm in comfort zone, and I don't want to change.
Maybe you started another thing, we never know.
I don't
but
know.
but for sure that we'll have more conversations like this in the future. I would like to thank you very much
Thank you
for the
so
time
much for.
you generously gave us for this interview. And I think it's inspirational for other colleagues, even the young colleagues, but even the not so young, that at any time in your life you can take a risk and you can change direction and you can go wherever you feel that it's the path you should go. And I think it's great to see the thought process that you have in your life. And for sure it's an inspiration for me, for myself, and for those who are listening now. And you will do PhD. I will try to do a marathon in 2 years, and we talk in the future. We'll do a follow-up episode in these podcasts. I would like also to thank Coltin for sponsoring this podcast. It's great to have a company that is betting in these new technologies and the new ways of people to connecting to each other, but also like to say a big thanks to Mile Churlinov for the for accepting this invitation, and it was a really nice talk with you, Mile.
Thank you,
Thank you very much.
Antonio. The pleasure was all mine. I never mind having a nice conversation with a nice people. So for me, it was like going out with a friend for a drink and talking about endo. Was not, like it was not in my reminder list not to forget this, because I was looking forward for this interview. And thank you once again for inviting me. I'm I'm sure that after I see you next time, you will be finishing. You will finish at least couple of marathons, because once you do one, you will be so hooked that there is no way back. And
Yeah,
then I want to thank Colteen for supporting us for all those years. I want to thank for their willingness to support the dentistry and to support our field the way that it's beneficial for our patients. Okay, at the end, all of this happens because of them.
yeah, it was a really nice ending. Thank you very much,
Thank you
Mile.
so much, my friend, and have a good night.
Thank you. Thank you very
Bye
much.
bye bye, everybody.
Bye.